This is about distributors screwing you. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to have a quick indie filmmaker chat, if I could. So, I've been deep into distribution. I've been deep into trying to get my film, Extramundane, out there. Small horror film that I did, pretty much on my own during the pandemic. I was like right around the time vaccines were coming out. So, I'll do a whole video on that and that experience, which was phenomenal. And the people I got to work with were just incredible. But I want to talk a little bit about distribution. What is distribution? Why distribution? Why do we need or want distribution? Why can't I do it myself? Well, let's talk about it. So I'm the type of person that when I get my mind on something, it's done. Like you might as well just throw in the towel. It's over. It's done. It's happening. I'm doing it. It's just, it's going to take a miracle for me not to do it. That's just my mindset. I decided I was going to shoot this feature film by myself. And I wasn't going to wait on anybody. I wasn't going to have anybody's permission. As far as like productions, goes and, we can't shoot that camera. No, I'm just doing it. I'm doing it with my equipment. I borrowed some equipment from a friend of mine, that I didn't have. And I shot the film pretty much entirely by myself. I didn't actually think it was going to get distributed. I actually meant it to be a pitch film. I was actually just going to shoot it. I thought it was going to be, ultra low budget feature. And I thought, okay, I'll just show this to anybody who would watch it and be like, look, I did this completely alone. There's pictures of me, which I'll show right now, with a fanny pack, rolling sound from my hip, doing the film entirely by myself outside of, obviously the actors do the heavy lifting. They do the heavy lifting emotionally. I was doing the heavy lifting physically. Let's leave it at that. So for me, I wasn't really expecting this film to get distributed. If somebody offers you a deal before they've seen your movie, probably a red flag. I know there's a lot of people who claim to be distributors or distribution agents who will, kind of tell you, oh, don't worry. Oh, what's the genre? Oh, I can sell that. Don't worry about it. 50-50. It's like, I started getting offers really right away. As soon as it's on IMDb that you have a feature film in post-production, it's like people start being interested, which is both good and bad, because you're going to get the good, you're going to get the bad. I had one person reach out pretty much right away. I sent them the film. They watched it in a day, which I really appreciated. Sometimes people don't watch it for weeks and you have to just wait. And he offered me a 50-50 deal, which, was gracious. I mean, as far as I was so happy he offered me something on it. Again, you have to understand, this is my first offer. And I'm thinking, this is a pitch film, So it's like, wow, somebody offered me something for my movie. Always sleep on it. I slept on it and, I thought, 50-50, but all the work I did and everything, I don't know about splitting it 50-50 with somebody. But, thank you and let's see what else happens. Another agency had reached out to me prior to my film even being finished. I was in post-production. So once it got finished, I sent it to them, thinking, hey, okay, whatever. I got one offer, that's cool, but I don't know, this company seems legitimate, and they are. And they responded back within a couple days and basically said they weren't interested. It wasn't for them. Wasn't the kind of movie they were looking for their calendar, but thanked me. And they actually introduced me to, I don't know if this is actually his title, but they introduced me to what I would call a distribution agent. It was a wonderful guy from the first moment I talked to him, through the time we got distribution for my film. So they have kind of like like, hey, it's not for us, but this guy might be interested. And so he reached out to me, he watched the film and called me and we talked about it. And you know what I love most? I love when people call you about your work and they can actually tell you things that happened. They're not, oh, I loved your horror movie. It was so good. It really scared me sometimes. No, it's great when they tell you like about the characters and what they liked, what worked for them, what scenes they liked. I always do that sometimes. I'll just ask about scenes. Oh, what was your favorite scene? And, can't remember. That's because I didn't watch it. But this gentleman, the one I'm speaking of, watched it. We had a great conversation. And in essence, his job, and you'll come across these people, good and bad. This gentleman was good, very good. You'll come across people who basically will take your film and they'll shop it for you. They have connections. Some people have legitimate connections. Some people have, they'll just put it on Amazon like anybody would do. You could do yourself and, they'll say they did work and they'll take some of your cut and, they really didn't do anything. This guy works for a fee. So these people work for fees. Sometimes it's up front, sometimes it's at the end, sometimes they'll recoup it, just the X amount, and then we'll recoup it through the profits you get. Depends on the person, depends on how they want to do it. I find I'm not comfortable with paying something up front. So I would have never said yes to that. So this situation was, if you sign a distribution deal, then it's X dollars. Okay, so great. I don't have to pay you anything. If I don't sign with anybody, if I end up getting just shitty deals, I don't have to go through with this. From there, sent my film out to a bunch of people, distribution companies, ones I had never even heard of. But once I looked up, I thought, oh wow, they are sizable and they have a library. And shockingly, by the end of this, including the guy who offered me 50-50 at the start, I ended up with 5 distribution offers, which, again, I'm not tooting my horn. You have to understand, I was shocked because I'm thinking to myself, this movie was supposed to be how does this even look good enough for whatever? At the end of the day, I was just grateful. It was so cool to see. And then, this gentleman who helped me, I couldn't thank him enough. I mean, it was so good. So another reason you might want somebody like this, who I call a distribution agent, or somebody who has connections and may collect a fee to get you work, is because of the language. A lot of indie filmmakers get screwed, and I've seen this on a ton of chat rooms and talking to different people because of the language of the contracts. I can only speak for me, but I can imagine I'm not the only one. I don't understand a lot of legal mumbo jumbo. I start reading it and my head hurts. So, it's a good chance for someone who knows the business, knows what the contracts are saying, to go through it with you and say, yeah, this isn't going to work. We're going to tell them to remove that. This needs to be reduced to 10 days, not 15 days. They want to keep your movie for 10 years. That's way too long. Most movie shelf lives are like 3 years, 5 years. We're going to drop that down to 5. Somebody to go through this stuff with you, and you really start seeing, oh my God, that distribution company was trying to screw me. And some of them are legitimate. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying all distributors are bad. Please, that is not this video. That's not what I'm saying. Some expenses are very needed. If you send them a film that's just not up to par, and they have to get somebody to go in to work on the audio, or you send them a terrible trailer, they have to go cut it. There are expenses in this. So, depending who you go with, some distribution agencies don't charge anything. You're just responsible for delivering the film, and that's it. You're done, So you pay for, if you can't cut a good trailer yourself, you pay somebody to do it and give you the trailer. You can't edit the film or color the film yourself. You pay somebody to do it, get them to export it how the distribution company wants it, and then you just give it to them, and then they do their thing. Other companies will say, we're going to do it. We're going to cut a trailer that we think will sell in foreign markets, US domestic markets, or they're going to, make their own poster, unless they really love yours. So you have to be careful of these things because they'll put costs in the contract. Sometimes they'll cap them. There are some that they don't even have to tell you what they spent the money on. If the recoupable expenses are $10,000 for marketing, they don't have to tell you that they made a trailer and then they made a poster, and they don't have to disclose that. It just says 10,000 deducted from your first quarter earnings for marketing. And they really legally, because of the way the contract reads, they don't have to tell you anything. So this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Again, not all distribution. There are a lot of really good distribution agencies, and I like to think that I signed with one, and like I said, the film will be releasing soon and you'll know who I signed with. There are ones who will take advantage of you, and I saw both sides, and this distribution agent, again, I'm calling him, I don't know if that's what you actually call. I should have asked them before I did this video, but that's okay. They're there to help you. I would say if anybody asks for a fee up front, I would say don't do it. My personal advice, I'm not comfortable with that. But if there's a catch, like in this case, it was like, hey, if you sign with a distribution agent that I get you, then the fee is due. That's totally reasonable because you don't have to sign, and they could all be terrible deals and you're like, cool, and you're not out any money. Those are the kinds of people I like working with and I like finding. So, this is somebody I'll definitely hang on to. And then I've gotten a good field of view now through his knowledge of contracts and reading through different ones and understanding what terminology means. That's the game. That's the game in indie filmmaking. Do it yourself, sure. But you have to have a following. You have to have people who are going to tune into your film every time you post one, Tubi, whatever. Film Hub is another good one a lot of people do. And you want to have somebody else post it for you or try to sell it to foreign markets or whatever and do that part of it. Then you really have to do your homework and understand the contracts, the language, I was just shocked when we were going through some of the agreements and no, that's not happening, that's not happening, that's not happening. This we're going to reduce. You know, you just go through it like that and you start to understand, oh, they were really going to do that. Oh, wow, they could recoup. By the time I did the math on one agreement, it was like $30,000 of recoupable expenses. And they don't have to tell you anything. You know, they don't have to tell you anything other than they recoup that $30,000. So that's $30,000 you could have gotten, but I actually ended up choosing one that had no upfront fees just because, like I said, I expected this to be a pitch film and it ended up going for distribution. So, you know, you're not really sure what it'll do or what your audience will be. So I figured I'd take a little bit less risk there as far as, you know, fees and having other people do trailers. You know, I cut everything myself. The trailers that you guys see on the channel that you'll see in the future, you know, I cut all my own stuff. I edit in DaVinci Resolve, I color. You know, I'm just kind of a self-learning indie filmmaker. And at the end of the day, you know, I want to make movies for a living. So, you know, learning all of this stuff and the ins and outs and this being my first distribution, I wanted to reach out to you guys, just let you know the kind of stuff you might run into, that you might see, and just things to watch out for. You know, if your gut is telling you don't do it, odds are you probably shouldn't do it. Trust your gut.